Get to your phone calls coming up. 877-3DP Show. One of the great Irishmen of all time, Seth Greenberg, ESPN college basketball analyst, joining us on the program. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Seth.
I'm not appropriately dressed. I apologize.
It's okay.
Faux pas.
Yeah.
Faux pas.
Yeah, sorry. All right, let's get the big controversy out of the way. North Carolina made it. West Virginia didn't. Indiana didn't. Ohio State, Boise. How big of a deal is this, in your opinion?
I think it's a big deal. I mean, you are your body of work. Your resume is your resume. And, North Carolina, do you get credit for playing good teams? Do you get credit for beating good teams? They're 1-12 against Quad 1. That's a fact. They played a very difficult non-conference schedule. That's a fact. They also lost to Pitt and Wake Forest and Clemson and Louisville. All right, those were opportunities. Not saying those teams aren't good, but those are opportunities that they didn't embrace. They played Michigan State in Hawaii. That was an opportunity before Michigan State became the juggernaut that they were. Now, look, playing Auburn and Alabama and Florida, those are the best of the best. But I do think that if you look at their resume, their body of work, their resume says they're not an NCAA tournament team. Having said that, Dan, now that they're in the tournament, they can beat San Diego State. Now that they're in the tournament, they can give Ole Miss a game. But you know what? You don't get a free pass to get in the tournament. You earn your way into the tournament, and everyone should be evaluated across the same set of criteria. And that's probably the thing that kind of bothers me to an extent.
How did it happen then?
How did it happen? Look, Bubba Cunningham is a good man. I have a lot of respect for him. He's the head of the committee. And they say, well, he recuses himself from the room when they're talking about North Carolina. That's great. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, conversations, committee members that he's chairing who also know they're in that situation. I thought they put Xavier in as well. And I think they put Xavier in and as a kind of another one of those teams that didn't have a ton of Quad 1 wins. But that was a good way to justify putting North Carolina in because the resumes were similar. But look, I'm not pointing a finger at Bubba without a doubt. I'm not doing that. But the system is flawed in this way, Dan. We've got to have a better set criteria so everyone's got their own prism of what how they're looking at these resumes, right? We've got to say this is the most important. This is the second most important. This is the third most important. Instead of having everyone say, well, the prism I looked at this through, like the whole idea that they said, well, West Virginia, DeVries wasn't there at the end of the season. He wasn't there at the beginning of the season. They still won games. I mean, he missed 24 games or so. So, just the excuse after the bracket came out was a little bit weak. Oh, it is what it is. It's over with. Now we're going to have a great NCAA tournament. But, as a guy that sat on the outside looking in for 48 straight months, Dan, not that it still bothers me at all. I feel for those guys because, the tournament is a reward for your season. I feel for the seniors on those teams. I feel for the coaches. The season starts, in the summer. It's a long, grinded out season. And I thought some of those other teams deserved the opportunity ahead of North Carolina.
What's the biggest storyline going into the tournament, in your opinion?
The dominance of Florida. I think Florida can have a UConn type run through the NCAA tournament. I think they're that good. Oh. I call them Noah's Ark. They got two everything, the pace, the force, the freedom that they play with. Their bigs run the floor and are skilled. Walter Clayton, to me, is a lottery pick at the guard position. They go 10 deep. I think Florida's dominance in the SEC tournament, how they won, is one of the key storylines. And then Cooper Flagg. We got to talk about Cooper Flagg, right? You understand that, right?
Yes. His availability, though, seems like he's getting the green light to go.
I think what they're going to do is I think he's going to get the green light to go. I think, in just listening to John, who's done just an incredible job, but listening to John, I think what they're going to try to do is he's going to do some individual workout stuff today, back in practice, some skill work, probably no contact. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday, he'll do some live stuff, and then they're going to see how it reacts. But they need him to win a national championship. Ideally, they'd like to get him some minutes in the opening round game to get his feet wet, to experience what the tournament's about, because each game you win, there's a greater pressure. Really impressed with how Duke played in the ACC tournament. A lot of guys stepped up, but I expect him to play. But there's a lot of people. This is the thing that people don't understand. It's obviously Cooper. the medical staff, John Shire, his parents, and you know the last group that's going to be involved in this decision, probably his agent. I mean, because that's the world we live in now, where all these players have agents, and that, he's a valuable commodity. They just want to make sure that he's going to be healthy. It's just an ankle sprain, but you don't want something to be something that's going to be a lingering ankle sprain that could impact, a big picture, him working out for NBA teams and things of that nature.
Seth Greenberg, ESPN college basketball analyst. The most vulnerable number one seed is?
That's an interesting. I'm going to say the most vulnerable by the bracket they're in. And I would say that's going to be Houston. As hard as Houston plays, as well as they rebound the ball. But if you look at their bracket, first of all, Tennessee's kind of like Houston 1.0. I mean, Tennessee, Rick Barnes' teams play so hard, physical. Maychak and Zakai Ziegler are elite defenders. But the rest of that bracket, if you look at teams that can, be a problem, whether it's if Kentucky gets healthy and Lamont Butler plays, it's 3-point shooting, which is an issue. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Clemson, an experienced backcourt. Illinois, finally healthy. And then Tennessee. So I would think Houston has the toughest run. Some people say Auburn because of Michigan with those 2 7-footers and Michigan State on the bottom of the draw. But my gut feeling is I have this feeling about Tennessee and just their connectivity, their toughness, and they're due. They're due.
Explain Rick Pitino as a former coach and what he does. No matter where he goes, he wins. How does this happen?
Yeah. How does it happen? He's a savant. He takes his team and beats you, and he takes your team and beats you. I mean, he's a savant. He is unrelenting in terms of the standard that he sets. He gets total buy-in from his guys. He gets winning players and tough guys. But in the end, the guy has a gift. Even despite the white suit, he has a gift. I mean, what he does, whether it's at Boston University, at Providence, with the Knicks, with Louisville, with Kentucky, now with St. John's, he basically gets guys to play in a manner where they all buy into being winning players. They all buy into one thing, the good of the group. What he's done with Kadari Richmond, getting him to play every play, a 6'6" point guard, which makes them really hard to play against. Or RJ Lewis, who started at UMass, who's a shot maker and a scorer, and making him and getting him to buy in what it takes to be successful. Like, he gets those guys to buy in to the greater good. He gets those guys to buy in to competing at a level they didn't think. Now, this time he's doing it with big 6'6" guards. He also did it with Russ Smith and Peyton Siva. He also did it with Billy Donovan. He also did it with Mashburn. So he's just got a gift, and he's in the perfect place because New York guy in New York, selling out Madison Square Garden, having the run he had the year that Coach Carnesecca passes, understanding the history and the tradition of St. John's, embracing all that. This was a long time coming because I personally, the last time the job opened up, I probably would have said, he's had some issues, but Rick Pitino is New York basketball.
What happened to UConn this year?
They're not as good. I mean, like, the level was so high and the bar was so high. I mean, you lose Klingon, you lose Sonogo the year before, you lose, you have 2 of everything in the post. You lose Stephen Castle, elite defender. Before you lost Andre Jackson, elite defender. They swung and missed a little bit in the portal. I mean, that's just a fact. Their inability to defend the ball at the point of attack. Offensively, it's still beautiful to watch. Their ball movement, their people movement. They don't have a shot creator offensively, which is a problem. They get everything out of their offense. Stephen Castle could just get down the lane. Jordan Hawkins could come off a screen, bang a jumper or a shot fake and get in the lane. They don't have that. And then defensively, they don't have a lockdown defender. So, like, even in this first game, Jeremiah Fears has a little Kyrie Irving in his game. Like, defending him and the 3 guards of Oklahoma, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And then offensively, you get to a short clock situation, and you watch so much basketball. You know so much about it and are a historian. You get to the end of a shot clock. Who do you give the ball to? You give it to Lee McNeely as a freshman who's like a 6'6" guy that's developing into it. Give it to Hassan Diarra because he really can't score it, but he can get maybe in the lane. They had pros they were giving the ball to at the end of the shot clock. Having said that, the dude is a savant. The dude is amazing. You can like him, dislike him. He's great for college basketball. I go over there all the time to watch him practice. He's a master teacher, but it's modeled behavior. He acts and coaches no differently than his dad did when he was winning state championship after state championship and becoming a Hall of Fame coach. The guy is a tremendous coach, and his players love him. As hard as he is on him, and he can be hard on him, his guys respond to him. He connects with them at a different level because he cares so much.
The NBA has surrendered to the three. College basketball hasn't, but I don't know if, and I'll ask your opinion while I give mine, which isn't great interviewing, but it almost feels like the coaches are in a little more control in college basketball of the style that you can play, as opposed to the NBA where the stars are bigger than their coaches.
Yeah, we've turned into a European game, the college game. A lot of coaches are running a lot of 5 out. They're running not as much just pure ball screen. It's more ball and people movement. Like everyone, my thing about the NBA is NBA players take bad shots and make them. College players take good shots and miss them. So like the coach has to have a little bit more control. Who you get shot from, where you get shot from, when you get the shot from. And that's why I like Auburn, even though they're struggling now. Bruce Pearl does a great job of getting his guys where they want their shots to come from, which is important. So, yeah, a lot of people disagree with me. I don't think we should go to a 24-second clock. I do think we could advance the ball at the end of games. I think that would be good because we'd have more exciting finishes. I think we should go to quarters. That's fine. I don't think we should move the 3-point line back. Our game is different. You know what? And we try to be the NBA. We're not going to be the NBA. The chance to get the upset in the NCAA tournament is because of our rules. Like we would have never, when I was at Virginia Tech, beaten Duke in North Carolina, or when we beat Kansas when we were at Long Beach State. We would have never had those wins if there was a 24-second clock, if the rules were the way it is. Now, the one thing I am worried about in the NCAA tournament, especially for the SEC, is the SEC, 14 teams in the tournament. I think they can get 3 in the Final Four potentially, which is the first time since the Big East did it. But it's been such a physical league. I do worry the first 2 rounds when they call it a little tighter, and this league is so physical and handsy, if that's going to impact outcomes of games because they're going to get a bunch of teams in foul trouble.
Best college basketball team of your lifetime was who?
For me, in my lifetime, I played against them and the UNLV team of Jerry Darkanian. They came at you at warp speed. They were absolutely relentless. And I'm talking about teams I coached against.
Yeah.
They played at 1-1-3 amoeba, then they played man-to-man, and they came at you at warp speed. Larry Johnson was running right to the front of the rim. Good luck. You're playing aside of me, catches it. You play behind him, he backs you down. Anderson Hunt's knocking down threes. How hard they played. See, that's the one thing about Jerry Tarkanian. He was a great coach. He wasn't a good coach. He acquired talent. We know that. He had great players. But how hard they played, how they defended, how simple they were offensively, but how well they executed. They were so hard to play against because of the force they played with, their selfishness they played with, and they never took a play off. I mean, they just came at you and at you and at you, and it was a brutal 40 minutes.
And Bob Lee and I, when we did SportsCenter, we argued about how great this team, one of the great teams of all time, and we kept coming back to they're blowing people out. If they get into a tight game, I want to see how they do. They got into a tight game in that second year when they faced Duke, and they had a hard time getting a shot off. Your pick for the tournament is
Florida.
Okay, great.
Florida.
We'll talk to you. During the tournament. Thank you again for making time.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Much respect.
One of the great Irishmen of all time, Seth Greenberg, ESPN college basketball analyst. Work on that wardrobe probably a little later on. We'll take a break. Play of the day up next.